Hello everybody and welcome back to my page. I am AFRO-Moore, the ambassador of the African Diaspora Collective here in Israel. And today I want to ask you a question. Afro-Palestinians, y'all know about them? Let me tell you about them. Well, right now in Gaza, in the West Bank, and also in East Jerusalem, there are approximately 300,000 people who identify as Afro-Palestinians. So where do they come from? Who are they? What is the history? So mainly during the Ottomans' rule here in Israel and in the entire region, there were those who were making Hajj to Mecca. And they were coming from African countries, Nigeria, Sudan, and others. And after they made Hajj, they'll just stop by Jerusalem. Since they're already coming from far away, then they may as well, they may as well stop by Jerusalem, which is the third most holiest place in Islam after Mecca, Medina, and then you have Jerusalem, where they say that the Prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven. And so they would come, they would do rituals in Jerusalem and then remain in Jerusalem because it was under the Ottoman rule, and the Ottomans were actually looking to encourage Muslims from wherever they were in the world to come and actually to settle in Israel and in other places as well that were under their control. And so these people came, these brothers and sisters came and remained here. But there are also those who trace their roots back here, just like we trace our roots back to the Israelites that were dispersed from this land. You also have those who trace their roots back to the Ishmaelites who were in this region and who are in this region. I actually know some Afro-Palestinians that could give you a pretty healthy history of their family's presence here. They can go back 500, 600 years, and I'm sure that if you would have gone back a few hundreds of years, you probably would get from those people during that period of time another 500 years from the past. So they've been here all along. Now, why are they actually considered Afro-Palestinians as opposed to simply Palestinians? One, because they maintain their African identity. They know where they come from. If you ask them, they will tell you, my family came from Senegal, my family came from Gabon, my family came from Sudan, my family came from thus and thus. So they know, they still hold on to that African identity and heritage, right? But the only reason why they also have the name Palestinians is because everybody who was residing here in this region, at the least during the British Mandate of Palestine period in 1920, 21, 22, and going forward, everybody was identified as Palestinians. So if you had Jews here, they were Palestinian Jews. If you had Arabs here, they were Arab Palestinians. If you had Africans, Afro-Palestinians. So all these people, it wasn't a national identity. It was simply because of your presence here in a place that is called a specific name, then just like people who reside in the United States of America, then you're American, you're Italian American, you're Irish American, you're African American, you're Japanese American. So that's kind of how it was here. But also within the Palestinian, the lighter skinned Palestinian community, they don't necessarily recognize Afro-Palestinians as what they would say as original Palestinians. What they say is that they're Afro-Palestinians, they're Africans for the most part as well. Within there's major anti-blackness within the Palestinian community as well, and so they consider them also to be slaves, to be people who are second-class citizens, because also there were some that had come from these African countries as well to be domestic workers, to work for the lighter skinned Palestinians. And that's something that's been passed on from generation to generation. And so as a result of that, the generations today actually still view, not everybody, but still view the Afro-Palestinians as a subgroup. They're not us. These are African Palestinians. They're not the original Palestinians as such. And they actually treat them like that. In Gaza, you have those who reside in the neighborhood. 1% of the population in Gaza are Afro-Palestinians, and they reside in a neighborhood called the El Abid neighborhood, which is translated as slave. Some people would say, no, El Abid doesn't mean slave, it means Abid in Hebrew, in Arabic means a servant of God. And so these people are actually, identified as servants of God. That's why we call them Abid, El Abid. No. It's translated as El Abid, slave, and this is coming from Afro-Palestinian people. So I'm not just making that up.
سوداء عايشة في قطاع غزة. أنا تعرضت للعنصرية من وأنا طفلة صغيرة وما زلت لهذه اللحظة بتعرض للعنصرية لأسباب أنا بصراحة مش عارفة إيش هي.
كانت زمان بس الحين لا، مش موجود إطلاقا. الأسمر والأبيض واحد.
ما نضحك على حالنا ونقول إنه العنصرية مش موجودة عندنا في المجتمع الفلسطيني.
But then you have those who are also, because the majority of them are in the West Bank, in Jericho and in Tulkarem and in other places, and they actually live in very large communities out there. And I've been there, and I have friends who are actually Afro-Palestinian who are there. And so when we have a chance, I'll definitely jump out there to be able to show you all a little bit of the lifestyle of the Afro-Palestinians who are there. In regards to the anti-blackness and the racism within the Palestinian community towards Afro-Palestinians, I didn't say that. Let's listen to what Afro-Palestinians say about how they're treated within the community of the Palestinians generally.
ده كان يقول لي ما تلمسيني علشان ما أتشحبر، يعني ما يصير أسمر زيي.
إلا ما تلاقي فيه أطفال يعني يأذيك بكلمة نوعا ما، يا كوشي أسمر، وين يا شوكولاتة، وين يا إشي زي هيك. بصير في فارق، وبصير في شوية يعني تمييز إنه لا إحنا ما بنعطيش سمر.
عندي أبنائي خطبنا لهم وجوزناهم من أسر أصحاب البشرة البيضاء، فهذا اليوم صار ظاهرة إيجابية.
عادي جدا شاب أسمر يتجوز واحدة بيضاء، لكن بنت سمرة تتجوز واحد أبيض لا، هذا مرفوض.
من باب إنه هاي البنت لما بدها تروح على بيت العيلة، ممكن تكون هي السمرة الوحيدة اللي في العيلة، فممكن تعيش في أزمة، ممكن تواجه مشاكل، ممكن توصل للطلاق في الآخر على أساس بس فكرة اللون.
Now we work extremely close with Afro-Palestinians as well, because we have something in common. What do we have in common? Well, wherever you look, people of African ancestry in mostly every society are experiencing racism and discrimination and oppression and otherwise. And if you know, since the beginning of this unfortunate bloody war on October 7th, there have been aid, there have been significant monies coming in from the United Nations, from UNRWA, from other organizations, from the UN, from the EU, but the Afro-Palestinian communities, majority of them have not received any aid. They haven't received any assistance.
We're not considered for them, like, what you doing over here, where you all came from. So if any aid, if any like help came to the community, we don't reach none of it. Like, it's not for us. It's not for, we have to struggle to get something, and we don't get it. Under that, we don't have the UN card, which is a card makes you like give the aid, give the food from the United Nations, and we're not refugees. We can't get that.
They're raising funds, right? They're raising funds for Palestinian people,
none of
whatever.
None of it. None of it. We are 4 villages. None of it. We didn't get none of it. None.
They're not even eligible for the UN cards and otherwise. Why? Because they're not considered the Palestinians who are what they would say indigenous to Israel, or to Palestine, as they say. No, they're not considered. They're outsiders. They're people who migrated. They're people who came. Now it's funny because the great majority also of people who identify today as Palestinian, these are people who migrated from the nearby countries, from Egypt, from Jordan, from Syria, from Lebanon, during the Ottomans' rule here, and also during the British rule, looking for better economic opportunities. So these people, majority of these people come from different places. They've migrated to here, and then they decided that there is a connection between all these peoples now that they've been here for a period of time. And so as far as they're concerned, they have a national identity. Everybody together, their national identity is Palestinian. And that's something that rose actually with the rise of nationalism within the Arab world, and it was taken up by Yasser Arafat in 1964 with the Palestinian Liberation Organization. That's where the idea of connecting all of these peoples together as one unit. This is actually where that came from. Yes, you had the Hajj Amin al-Husseini, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem in the 1920s, who was also trying to unite all of these groups into one under various organizations, but it didn't actually work. It didn't actually work. There was a lot of infighting. There was a lot, and today also, yes, there are a lot of within the Palestinian world. There are a lot of differences as well. But I'm focusing on the Afro-Palestinians because even in the Palestinian world, there is a rejection of this community in East Jerusalem, in the West Bank, in Gaza. Yeah, of course, sometimes they work together, but for the most part, they're not operating as one unit. But I wanted to just jump on, just share that with you, and we'll be back. We'll be back with some more information, with some more more detailed information about all the other groups that are residing here in this specific region, so you could then be able to continue to edify yourself with the knowledge of these groups here. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment below if any of the information that I'm sharing with you is useful and is helping you to then be exposed to a new world that you weren't exposed to before. Until then, you have a great day and all the best to you.